Welcome to the Creepin' It Real Show, your one-stop shop for weird news, movie reviews, otherworldly, and paranormal shenanigans. We'll take a dive into what's going on in creepy pop culture. You can follow Creepin' It Real Show on Twitter at creepin_it. You can email us at creepinitrealshow@gmail.com. And you can also go to our website, creepinitshow.com. Welcome to Creepin' It Real. I'm one of your hosts, Yardley. And today for episode, 36, we are going to do our Hereditary spoiler review. But before we dive into this movie that, at least for me, I thought hit all the marks, I'm going to bring in my co-host from the great state of California. How you doing, Moni?
I'm well, although it sounds like we're headed into an argument over this film today. So getting ready for that. But last night I actually watched, we were talking the other day, last week, about Netflix originals, and I watched the adaptation of Gerald's Game, the Stephen King book. Mm-hmm. And it's on Netflix right now, and that was actually pretty well done. So if you want an actually good horror movie, check that out on Netflix, Gerald's Game.
Okay, awesome. Definitely, I'll definitely check that out. And what's going on up the street, Christy?
Hey, not much. Happy Father's Day to all those fathers out there. I made some breakfast for my dude and some good coffee. And I'm just going to go on the record and say that this movie was a fucking masterpiece. I was blown away. I've never gone home and dreamed about a movie before, and I did. It fucked with me on every level, and I'm like, that's what I look for. I don't want slasher. I don't want bullshit. I want that really messed up, stays with you, makes you think, what the hell did I just watch? That was it for me, man. I'm so excited to talk about this movie. I can't wait.
Shots fired. I'm going to get ready to stand alone over here, all right?
I see how you're totally going to be standing alone. But but here's the thing. I mean, I'm pretty sure that you're going to have points that are going to be legit, and I look forward to hearing what they are. So what I want to do first, unless y'all had any weird news, or does this movie get our full attention today?
I don't have any weird news. I do want to ask just everybody to heads up. We're going to be doing a giveaway on next show, so just look for that next week. I have to do a real quick humble brag. I couldn't get the cups that I wanted that were the engraved. They were way too expensive. And so I just kind of forgot about it and was like, oh, well, that's just not going to happen. Well, my husband reached out to a bunch of people that he knows who know other people, and ended up just didn't even ask me, just ordered the cups I wanted and got them decaled for less than half the price I was going to have to pay. And so he's awesome. I appreciate him doing that, and total surprise, got them in, and they were sitting on the counter, and it was just a really nice gesture. So we're getting these wine tumblers that are copper, and they have our logo on them. And everybody,
we posted them on social, all over our social medias. They look awesome, Christy.
If you want to take a look at them, they're on Facebook and Twitter. But they are we all are going to get one, and then we're giving away 3. So we'll announce that official, rules to the giveaway next week, and that's it. So so shout out to him. That was really awesome of him to do.
Thanks to you and your dude for thinking to do that. That was awesome.
He does shit like that all the time. He is very, very good in that department. He'll just, if I make a weird comment like, man, I was at my friend's house and I smelled this cherry soap. It smells amazing. 2 days later, I have a box full of it just on the doorstep. He just goes and gets stuff. So he's awesome that way, and I had to really give him some kudos because that was a huge, awesome surprise. I'm supposed to be buying him shit. It's Father's Day. So anyway, we can get into the fucked upness of this movie. So I'm excited to talk about it.
I'm glad you acknowledged that, because I was going to remind your ass of that at the end of that spiel you went on. You need to hook him up. Thank you very much.
Exactly. Oh, don't worry. He gets very well taken care of.
But you know what? But that's what's up. And you know what? Before we dive in, I'm just gonna essentially, I think what would be cool to do this day, we don't necessarily have to just chronologically go through the movie, because it's, it was actually if I'm 2.5 hours or close to that movie. So basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a basic overview of what it was about, from beginning to the end, and then we'll dive into some of our moments. Now, I know if people have been online and they've looked at, the reviews for this or the non-spoiler reviews, IMDb, it was a 7.9 out of 10 the last time I checked there. Rotten Tomatoes has it 92% fresh with 188 fresh reviews, 17 rotten. It got a D plus from CinemaScore.
Clearly, those are my people.
And CinemaScore, and I think that these are people, I think for the most part, of course, this is the people who are coming out of the theater, but they also kind of go into that score where I think a lot of people, for some reason, were upset with the ending of the movie. I guess that's kind of what made some people say, I wasn't, they either didn't know what the ending fully meant, or they just, they didn't like it for whatever reason. For me, I didn't have a problem with the ending because actually they told you exactly what the fuck was going on if you kind of paid attention to the signs and the things that they kind of had in the movie. And some of that was validated, of course, after I saw the movie, because it's a grind, and sometimes I try to sit back and enjoy it instead of trying to, I got to make a note about this. So anyway, we'll get into that. So let's talk about the characters. We'll talk about what we thought about them, and our perception on did each character kind of get their due, and what they did in the movie, did it really work within the story that they had. So we had the character of Annie Graham, who was played by Toni Collette. I thought she knocked it out of the park. A lot of people, you might have known her from Sixth Sense, and she was also in Shaft. She's had other projects, but those are two that stick out for me. Are there any other projects from Toni Collette that either of you?
The first time I ever saw her was Muriel's Wedding, and that's an Australian movie from 25 years ago, probably. And she was just a young thing. She was a kid, and I just loved her there because she played such a goofy, kind of crazy, bubbly, crazy nut girl, and she's just phenomenal. And this movie, I know Moni will disagree, and I think we're all three gonna probably hit on the main kind of feelings of people. Either you really love it or you really hate it. But
her acting is amazing, though.
She did
Toni
fucking
Collette's
amazing.
A joy to watch.
I mean, her breakdown just. At the table when she stood up and she was screaming at Peter, and then the other when she finds the body and her just her husband's holding her, and just every single scene she was in was like, she did what she was supposed to do. That's for sure. I was blown away. I mean, I knew she was a good actress, but holy shit, she was phenomenal in this movie. Phenomenal.
The last thing that I enjoyed her in was the Krampus movie, which is a really fun horror film. Maybe we should visit around Christmas time this year. But I felt like a lot of her character was like if the character from the Krampus went through the stuff that the character from Hereditary goes through, then it would be the same. So that was the only thing that was a little bit like, she's always a really good actress, but I was like, I just saw her play this mom that's like losing her shit. So anyway.
Okay. Well, all right. Well, then there's a character, Charlie Graham, who was the daughter of Annie, who's played by Millie Shapiro. For those who, if you've seen the movie, you know who she is, but in the trailer, she's the young lady who is clicking throughout the trailer. Her resume is pretty much this movie. She doesn't really have any other thing. So this from here.
She's a Broadway star. She played, who did she play?
Matilda.
Matilda. She's supposed to be like an amazing singer, but I so cannot picture her singing because all you know her from is this show.
I can picture her clicking is what I can picture.
But exactly.
Then she did her job.
Absolutely. So, but this is pretty much as far as movies or television, this is her thing. And I thought that look, the makeup department and what they were using her for in this movie. I mean, her whole thing, especially, once things become tragic for that character, and then by the end of it, when you really realize that this young lady has pretty much been possessed by this thing the whole time. And the clicking was basically the demon that was in her. And I know I'm kind of jumping ahead because I didn't kind of close out the overall summary. Well, basically, they're trying to find a host for this demon to come back that offers, riches and all of these different things. And so this family has kind of been a so-called breeding ground for them, for the grandmother to bring back this demon. So, did any of you notice with the character of Charlie, did y'all feel like she was just, because she just seemed like a normal kid, and by watching the trailer, you think, well, man, maybe something's off about her, like she might have some type of, special needs or something like that. No, she's just a girl who we find out is possessed by the ending of it, but she was pretty normal. But there were things that bugged me in this movie about how the hell do you forget an EpiPen when you used Chekhov's gun earlier?
Well, as somebody who has a very highly asthmatic kid, we forget his inhaler all the time. So I kind of understand what that feels like. And he's actually gone into like major asthma attack because his isn't like sports, like activity triggered. It's like environment it triggered. So anyway, I can kind of understand it. That's happened to me before, but they seem to always remember it, but then don't actually like get it when it needs to when it needs to be getting. That makes no sense, but whatever.
But in the context of a movie, when you bring it up, I mean, we know that them not having it later, I guess, was a way to revisit it. But you would think that. But anyway.
Well, when they walked into the party and I saw all those walnuts being chopped, I was like, oh boy, we're screwed. Yeah, totally screwed now. But the thing with her is, I thought she was off from the beginning. I mean, she's cutting birds' heads off with scissors, and I was just like, something's wrong with her. Like, and she's kind of a creepy looking girl. I mean, she's just got these eyes that are very intense, and I was uncomfortable just looking at her from the get-go. She was just this kind of bizarre behaved, quiet, the clucking, the cutting the head off was, ugh. And so, but she was also, and then you would turn around and you'd blink and she was just a normal kid. It was almost like sometimes she was this demon and then sometimes she was just her. So it was kind of a back and forth that I kind of saw. And I didn't know at the time what was going on with her. I just saw that she was back and forth in bizarre, weird ways. That's all I can explain.
Well, Moni, I want to kind of come to you because you were saying that you were a little bit down. So, in essence, at the end of the movie, we find out that, Annie's mother, who was the person whose funeral kind of jumps off the whole, the movie. Mm-hmm. I thought that was pretty cool. Her kind of having some words talking about a mother who she didn't get along with. But at the end, when we find out that basically the cultists are essentially trying to bring back this demon, and her mother, who was titled, I think it was Queen Lee. We find out that's what the cult was calling her. She basically wants to bring back this demon, Payman. It's essentially, I think it's the demon of mischief. It offers you riches to those who summon them. But we find out that you actually have to have a male host. So that, in essence, is that something that you thought was maybe a cool thing? And had you heard about this demon? Because apparently it is a thing in real life.
Yeah, no, I had never heard about that, and I love me some demons, but I don't really study them because that's exactly why I like them. Is I like them in fiction because they're interesting to me because I don't spend a lot of time like looking into which demons are what. But they did write that backstory brilliantly, where essentially there is an older son in this family whom the grandmother at the time did not have a relationship with her own daughter when she was pregnant with this young man, and so it didn't get a chance to get her demonic hooks into a proper male host, and therefore had no choice but to give Payman a female, and give him the wrong kind of host, and then they had to work towards getting him into a male body. We maybe should do a little bit of a linear summary, because I feel like anyone who hasn't seen this,
well,
this is batshit. Even when you're watching it in order, it's batshit.
I mean, the beginning, she talks about, I think it was when she was at the Lost meetup group, where she says that her mother was not allowed to be around Peter because she was still not ill. She was still messed up, so she was never allowed to be around Peter to manipulate Peter. But then when she got ill, her mom felt bad for her, and moved her in, and that's when she had Charlie. And she basically like gave Charlie almost to her mother because her mother was crazy about Charlie, quote unquote. And I'm assuming that Charlie did made with what she had, and ended up just trying to summon him in her versus Peter. But Charlie's body wasn't, she had this allergy, so she was susceptible to like death. So they were like, all right, this is like a temporary solution until we can get our claws on another boy. Which then makes me wonder, Joan, she said her sons and grandson drowned, and I'm wondering if they were somehow a target. Plus, her son, Queen Lee's son died, and he said before he died, she was trying to put people into him. Yeah, so she had clearly tried this before, and it wasn't working. So I guess she got her claws on Charlie and tried it, and and it succeeded, but it was a tainted host because of this allergy. And so it was
because they said a female host was inappropriate for this demon. So,
So it was a flawed female host. It needs to be male. Plus, she had this issue with the allergies. So they were, as soon as they got hatched a plan to go after Peter, I'm assuming that's why even after death, she was, had this team of people trying